Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can see, I've got me a new swivelly swivel chair. This is because I've been trying to find out if I'm a standing YouTuber or a sitting one. Mostly because whenever I'm standing, when I'm doing my talk videos, I always feel like I'm anxious and just I'm nervous, like I'm ready. I need to be moving because whenever I'm standing, I feel like I need to be on the move doing something. And even if I'm just standing there talking to the camera and actually doing something, it doesn't feel like my body is not in motion. When I'm standing, my body feels like it needs to be in motion. So now that I am sitting, I feel like I can just relax and not, you know, I can work on my thoughts while they're gooder in my head. Okay, so there's a number of things I need to talk to you guys in this video about. First of all, I want to talk to you about what my first day at Dystopia Rising was like, what my expectations were versus what I actually got. And I feel like I have talked about that in other videos, but I never feel like I actually went step by step with how the day went and what it was like for me. And I also want to talk to you guys about why I haven't been back and what my future plans are for Dystopia Rising. So let's get started. So what brought me to Dystopia Rising in the first place? Well, I feel like the best way I can talk about that is to talk about how I discovered LARPing for myself. And that's relatively simple. It's simply through the movie Role Models, which I really enjoyed because I loved the McLovin kid who was running around through the forest in costumes, and I was like, well, I like costumes. And he was also going around fighting people with foam swords, and I was like, well, I like doing that with my cousin when we were little, but we were using sticks, and now you're telling me that there's a bunch of people out there in the woods dressing up in costumes and hitting each other with foam padded weapons? Go on. And that's really where my interest in LARPing was sparked. And from there, I spent the next couple of years, whenever I possibly could, you know, scouring the internet top to bottom for any sign of a LARP group in my local area. Because I live in like the mid-southern area of Oregon, and most of the LARP groups that I know about, they're either all the way in Portland, or they're in Washington, or they're in California. Everyone else is just on the East Coast, so I'm basically in the no man's land of LARP land. And eventually my search led me to a site called Dystopia Rising, where they told me they had zombies, and I was like, okay, I like zombies. And then they told me they were in the apocalypse, and I was like, all right, I like the apocalypse. And then they told me it was a zombie apocalypse LARP, and I was like, go on, you have my attention. And from there I learned that the Dystopia Rising branch was stationed just outside of Eugene, which for me was like, damn, that's actually pretty close, because it was in like that yellow zone area where it was just like, it's not far enough. I'll make the journey, because why not? It's LARPing, let's do it. So, you know, I quickly thumbed through the rule books as fast as I can. I had no time to read the 500-page novel that they had going on here. I wanted to basically at least function for my first game. So I was like, okay, this style of combat work. So I knew kind of what I was getting into when I was going, but at the same time, I still didn't know exactly what to expect, because mostly when I found out about this game, the event was happening basically that weekend, and I was like, oh, I got like 2 days to know everything I need to know and then come to this game. And that's sort of what I did. I just learned enough to at least function for the most part. I figured out what my strain was going to be. I was going to be a remnant for my first game because I wanted to have the most infection points, which if you remember, that means infection points are the amount of times I can die in game before I'm dead forever. And so I just like, I'm going to take the one that has pretty much the most of that, and you know, also gives me the ability to have 2 professions at the start of the game. So yeah, why not? So I got my costume together. Probably didn't fit the category of what a remnant is supposed to wear, but you know, details. So I get there, I dress up, super nervous. I literally am going in knowing no one, and I barely get 3 steps into the territory, I guess we'll call it, and I run into another player. His name is, I believe it was Weasel. The guy was super chill, super nice, had no idea where I was going. Pretty sure he picked up on that, and he was able to direct me to the sign-in cabin. I mean, out the gate, already met a nice person, so that's always a good sign. And you know, I went there, went inside, I explained to them that I was a new player, didn't know much about anything really, other than just some of the minor stuff I read in the rule books, and they were completely fine with that. They were super nice, super welcoming. They wrote me in as best as I can. They explained probably what was the best options for me to choose for my character in terms of abilities and what I should go for. And plus, I already had the, you know, the weapon, my set weapon on me. So they're like, well, with the weapon you have, you're probably going to want to go with this type. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know the different types of weapons that you had going on for you there. So yeah, that's cool. Anyways, long story short, I got signed in. Finally get into the game itself. I got my character sheet done, I got my armor, weapon all set out, ready to go, and I start my adventuring, and I immediately run into another player whose name was Gaia, not like the Fierce Knight, for those of you who know Yu-Gi-Oh. You know, that's the name that always came to mind every time I heard that name. So moving on. Super nice guy. Again, awesome first day for first impressions. Already meet 2 awesome people. Gaia actually invited me to bunk with him and his friends in this one cabin that they had set up out for them, but I only had paid for the day, so I wasn't going to be staying for the whole weekend. And plus I didn't have any camping equipment like a tent or a sleeping bag, pillow, anything like that. So I was just like, I appreciate it, but I can't. But I did spend the day, you know, adventuring around with them, walking around, just adventuring around. And frankly, I had far more fun with just walking around and talking and enjoying the immersion of being this character and, you know, role playing with these other players that are playing their own character than I really did in anything else for the game. Because you know, at one point later on, when the actual combat started, you know, monsters came in, zombies came in, raiders came in, or whatever, you know, we ran into combat and it didn't go very well for me. Basically, the first monster I fought, he was some kind of tank, he was all armored up, and the damage I was pitching was just insignificant compared to what he dished out. His first ability he used on me knocked me on my back, and I had no special abilities to counter his special abilities, so I was immediately knocked on my back, and he basically pummeled me until my friends that I made ganged up on the creature and killed it or drove it off, helped me back up and healed me. And so that was kind of a bummer for my first ever combat experience of the game, because it basically was me getting my ass handed to me. So for any of you new players out there who are watching this, I think that the best advice I could give you is you should probably start as a gunslinger, not the profession gunslinger, but as a gunner, someone who uses at least ranged weapons. Start off with that, because to be a new player who's fighting as a frontline melee combatant against a more senior player who has more weapon damage points, armor points, health points, mind points to do more special abilities, or any of the more higher ranking monsters that they send out to deal with those kind of players, you're going to get smitten. It's just smarter tactically to fight from a safe distance behind one of those more senior players than to be up in the face of one of those higher ranking monsters and getting slaughtered. That's really the only advice I could give you for starting a new game. Good luck. Take that advice or leave it. I've said my piece. And that's why I got out of my experience. I fought a monster that was way out of my class and it smoked me, so, you know, that sucked. But then they did send in at one point, you know, weaker monsters that I could fight, which, you know, that was fun. But that 60 minutes of victory over killing these low-leveled monsters just didn't really amount to as much fun as I had, you know, spending time with these like-minded other players, role-playing with them, building a story, going on adventures. That was legitimately fun. And again, I think that's the strongest quality Dystopia Rising has. Its community is just filled with amazing, wonderful, helpful, oh, not to mention helpful. Okay, here's another thing. While I was playing, I learned a new ability called the double tap, and it basically means, you know, there are some zombies out there that can come back from the dead after you kill them once, so you use the double tap to make sure they stay dead. And I learned this ability while I was out in the field. I didn't really know how to use it, but, you know, while I was out adventuring with Guy and his friends, and we were adventuring around, you know, some zombies attacked the town. The rest of the other players, I mean, they swarmed the zombies, they brought them all down, but they kept coming back to life. And, you know, people were yelling out, "We need someone who knows the double tap! Where is someone who knows the double tap?" And I'm just in the background like, yo, and people just snap their heads to me like raptors, and we're like, "Oh, that guy, get him over here!" They're just like, "Use the double tap, kill the zombie again." And I'm just like, I don't know how. And they just go, "Okay, he doesn't know how, should we?" Okay, and then, you know, they come over and they explain to me step by step exactly how to do the double tap procedure. And I mean, I'm the kind of guy who needs to have things explained to him 6 or 7 times, and, you know, so it'll be like, okay, so I say 1, 2, 3, and then double tap, and oh no, it's like okay, and, you know, it didn't matter how many times I needed them to explain it. They just explained it, and they were such great sports about it. And at no point did they ever get tired of like having to re-explain it to me. They were just so eager to help. And again, that's just another point of I didn't really have much fun with the combat, but the experience I had with these players that were so eager to help on the spot made such a world of difference to my overall enjoyment of the game. And, you know, when it actually came time to leave, I found myself sad that I was leaving. And I feel like that's a perfect sign for a game that's worth investing in. And I know I've made a lot of videos where, you know, I criticize a lot about the game. I do some snarky bits that I talk about things that I think are dumb about the game, but the only reason I do that is because I truly do see the quality of this game and why people are so drawn to it in the first place. And I just feel it's a little bit disappointing for some of the things that I find silly about the game. Because it's not necessarily that I hate the game. It's not that at all. It's just I see things that I just find are kind of silly, and I can't help but point it out. I'm a YouTuber. Work with me here. And that was my first ever day at Dystopia Rising, and overall it was a very enjoyable experience, and it had me coming back several other times, but that does lead into the next question, why I haven't been back. And that's a little bit more complicated because it's for several reasons. Now, for those of you who've been paying attention to my videos, who've watched my videos, and maybe you remember that I said I wanted to work with the players of Dystopia Rising. I want to sit down with them, interview them, talk to them about their strain, talk to them about their character, things like that. And out of respect for Dystopia Rising and its rules, I contacted the heads of this particular branch, and I asked them if I could show up and film on site. I did my best to explain that I wanted to set up in the NPC land where we'd be out of the way, we wouldn't be bothering anyone, because everyone who goes into the NPC land isn't going to be in character, so we won't be breaking any immersion. I felt like that was the best time to interview players because they wouldn't necessarily be doing anything until, you know, they had to go and do story elements. And there are plenty of times where people end up just sitting around there waiting for people to come in and give them something to do. So I felt like if I could catch anyone during that time zone where I could interview them, that would work out best. And, you know, we wouldn't be running around all over the site getting in the way of people and breaking their immersion by having a camera up in their face. We would be a respectful distance away, filming them from a safe distance where we wouldn't be in the way of whatever they were doing, breaking their immersion or whatever. And they ended up getting back in contact with me, and they told me essentially that it was against their group's policy and their rules and they weren't going to allow it. That seems a little weird because I know for a fact that I've seen several people running around taking pictures of people in the middle of game, so I'm not really sure why they won't allow me to come and film on site. But at the same time, I have to respect their decision to say no, and I do, because they have every right to say no for whatever reason, even if it's not necessarily a good reason to me. I'm sure to them it's plenty fine reason. I'm not going to push the matter. It's just I asked for permission, they said no, so that's where I'm at. And beyond that, it basically just boils down to three simple words, and that's location, location, location. What I mean by that is Dystopia Rising within recent history has had to move spots because their current spot that they had in the Eugene area, they couldn't keep up with the payments that they needed to rent that area out for their branch, so they had to move it further north, and that plopped them smack in the red zone for my travel distance ratio, where it was just like, if I'm going to go to that one, it's going to be a once a year thing instead of a once and every other month thing, because I'm just too much of a casual player to make that kind of distance to play for that short amount of time, to make that 8-hour there and back trip. It's just the math doesn't compute. It doesn't work. So unless Dystopia Rising has returned to the Eugene area location, I probably won't get back into the swing of things in playing the game for a while, because I'm just too much of a casual player to invest all of my time and focus into Dystopia Rising, which at times it almost feels like the game requires of its players. I have other hobbies that I need to focus on, like my YouTubing and my cosplays and things like that. With that being said, what my future plans for Dystopia Rising are, if I can get the actual permission that I need to do the videos I want to do for you guys, where I'm filming at the actual site and talking to you guys, then we can get that ball rolling and get things started. And other than that, I'm still going to make Dystopia themed YouTube videos. There's still plenty of topics to come that I still need to talk about. For example, the fact that there's going to be some changes coming to Dystopia Rising that are being done by the heads of the organization, which, you know, in the long run might make some of the videos I've worked so hard on obsolete. So with all that being said, I feel like that covers everything I need to talk to you guys about. Now, before you guys go, I'd like to share something a little personal with you. When I started this YouTube channel, I guess I really wasn't expecting much out of it. I basically told myself that if I could just get my friends together to subscribe to me and I could just make videos for them that would make them laugh, that would be fine. And I guess I did set out with one clear goal in mind, where if I could just get one person, not necessarily a friend, because, you know, it's a little bit obligated that friends say nice things to their friends, but if I could get one person to say, hey, I watched your videos, I really enjoyed them. They've helped me out a lot in one way, shape, or form. Just, it wouldn't matter if I had 1 subscriber or 100,000 subscribers. That would have been my victory. That would have been it. That would have been the ultimate victory for me. And I've gotten those comments multiple times from you guys. So really, I have to tell you, thank you guys so much for that. I really appreciate it. And as always, if you guys ever have an idea that you'd like to hear me talk about, please comment below and let me know, because I want to make content for you guys that you like to watch. And I always hope that I can make you guys content that you like to watch and have fun with, because that's what this channel is about. It's about having fun. This is a nerdy channel. We're gonna have fun here, and I want to give you guys the opportunity to have a say in what direction that we go. No politics. We're not doing that here. We get that enough in Facebook. I mean, we're not going down that road. But again, I just want to thank you guys so much for everything that you've given me. I mean, these videos have helped me more than anything, and I'm just really grateful for all that and all the support that you've given me over the time that I've been on here. And as always, if you feel like I've earned it, please give me a like, a subscribe, and hit that bell notification so that you can see whenever I get more content up for you guys. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Have a good one. See you next time.